Welcome to So and So, brought to you by Bernina, Made to Create. I'm Meg Goodman, and you're about to enjoy a casual conversation with a special member of the sewist and quilting community. A conversation about how they got started, what inspires them, what excites them, and their connection to this community. Today on So and So, we welcome back Sue O'Very, who was originally a guest on our 50th So and So episode in January of 2023. She's also known as Sookie of Sookie Sews. She's the Serger coach, an educator, pattern designer, and author. Plus, she has over 25 years of teaching experience. She wrote the Pocket Guide to Sergers and 2 additional sewing reference books and has helped tens of thousands of sewists gain confidence using their sergers. Sue is a creator of Serger Escape, founder of the Serger Dream Club, and the Year of the Serger initiative. Through her beginner-friendly patterns, step-by-step video courses, and coaching, she empowers Serger owners to move from intimidated to confident, one stitch at a time. Sue's love of sewing began very early, as she went from designing dresses for her Barbie doll at 6 years old to creating costumes at Busch Gardens when she graduated college. After leaving Busch Gardens, she created costumes on a cruise ship for 6 months before going on to become lead designer for a leather manufacturing company in China. While there, she designed leather cases for Verizon, small leather goods for Hartman Luggage, Nautica, and numerous other companies. She's traveled to China 22 times and to other marketplaces around the globe for her job. Her final job before launching Sookie Sews was at VF Imagewear, where she was the technical designer for Harley Davidson. Sue makes her home in Florida, where in her spare time she likes to practice yoga, go thrifting with her daughter, and hang out at the beach with her family. Sue O'Very, welcome back to So and So.
Thank you so much, Meg. I am so honored to be here today.
It's good to hear your voice. You know, you and I were chatting a little bit before we started this, and it's been a while since we've sat down for a full episode, but I've gotten to see you many times over the past several years at various sewing industry events, and we've kind of caught up with you. But for those who are new to you in this episode, remind us how you began to sew and who is your influence.
Yes, and it has been fun to see you over the past couple of years. I always enjoy seeing you and catching up. So my beginnings were, and you've kind of briefly touched on it, but I did start with Barbie doll clothes, which always kind of makes me laugh because they're the tiniest little things to sew, right? But yeah, I often tell the story of the Singer sewing machine, this green machine that lived in my brother's closet. And my mom taught me how to sew. And sometimes I would do hand sewing, but she would teach me on this green Singer machine. And I always think of this one little gingham skirt that I was making for my Barbie doll. And for some reason, instead of stitching the hem in the round so that the Barbie doll's legs could go through the bottom, I accidentally stitched it closed at the bottom. And I was very upset about it. And I just remember I have this very fond memory of my mom turning that moment in time, and I just remember my mom saying, "Oh, it's okay. I'm just going to turn this little skirt into a coin purse." And so instead of her, ripping it out, like pulling out the seam ripper and fixing it, she actually turned it into something useful. And
Uh-huh.
I know for a fact that my mom carried that little coin purse in her purse for decades. And recently I actually mentioned this to my mom and she said, "I did. I carried that in my purse forever." So, these are the kind of things that taught me patience and it taught me all kinds of things. So I would say my mom definitely had an influence on me teaching, but my influence goes back even to my dad. My dad is the one who actually taught my mom how to sew,
Hmm.
and then it was my dad's mom who taught him how to sew. So my dad always said that sewing and fashion was in my blood. My grandmother, my dad's mom, was a fashion designer in New York City, and briefly, I guess. And then when she met my grandfather, they ended up turning their lives into they in upstate New York, they ended up creating their own little upholstery shop.
Hmm.
And in the back of the upholstery shop, she had a little studio, I suppose, where she would create high-end fashion for as the story was told to me, was for the fancy ladies of the town.
So it has run in the family. Does your daughter sew?
Heidi knows how to sew. She
Uh-huh.
she's very artistic, she's very crafty. She can crochet circles around me. I don't know how to crochet, but
Mhm.
she's very artistic. She's more of an artsy person.
So now we know kind of how you got to where you are. Catch us up on what you've been doing professionally since we last talked.
So I really stepped fully into my role as a Serger coach, focusing 100% on education. And it really stemmed back a couple of years because I asked my audience. I asked online, I asked my YouTube audience, my social media, but really my newsletter. I started with just very simply asking questions. What is it that you would like to learn more about? And I felt like I was giving them a lot of machine embroidery because that's what I've been known for decades. And I had a lot of sewing patterns and I had some serger patterns. But when I kept asking, like, what is it that you need help with? Where can I best aid you? Every single time I would ask the question, the answer was sergers. And anytime I would do a poll or just whatever, every single time, Meg, the answer was sergers.
Mhm.
So then out of nowhere, my publisher had said, we've got this one book of yours that's doing really good, and we'd like for you to consider writing another book for us. And what would you like the topic to be? And I didn't even hesitate. I said, Sergers.
Mhm.
So then we started talking about the Pocket Guide to Sergers, which then published in late 2024. And and then I'm just sitting there, like I've got it all plotted out. I'm thinking about, okay, what's next? What can I do as far as getting this to my audience? A little pocket guide is great, but how can I reach that to the thousands, especially worldwide? And that's when I decided that I was going to, I just was going to decide that 2025 was going to be the year of the serger. I just decided it. I made it a decision.
Mhm.
And so I decided it on YouTube. And this essentially is it's your year. It's for anybody. It's not a calendar year. It's your year. So even if you're listening to this 4 years from now, or if you're listening to it in September or in April, it doesn't matter when you're listening to it. It is your year so that you can go and get that serger out of the box and you decide that this is my year. So it's not a calendar year, it's your year.
Mhm.
And that mindset has changed literally tens of thousands of lives now. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud of my students for making that decision. And so now their sergers are no longer just sitting in their box, and they're not sitting there with this feeling of guilt or buyer's remorse anymore.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's what I've been working on. And that led to the launch of my first real major course, which is Serger Escape. And it's a beginner course. And now I've helped over 1,000 students go from unboxing their serger to confidently using their sergers and loving them. And now I call my students, I call them my serger bees. and
Mhm.
and they lovingly refer to themselves as serger bees too. And they go from feeling frustrated to confident. Now, I got to tell you, I'm really excited about the other big accomplishment in this past few years was something that I have been dreaming about, just dreaming about. And it's called the Serger Dream Club. And it is a private, off social media community where we have hundreds of Serger bees, where we continue daily learning more and more about Sergers. And it's a community based where post the people, my Serger bees, they can post questions if they have troubles. But we also have lives and challenges and games, and we have guest speakers,
Hmm.
and oh, it's just fun. We have parties. Just it's just a big Serger fun group.
I'm going to sidestep here for a second.
Mhm.
There are people listening today who might be new to some of the equipment and vernacular of sewing. Would you explain what a serger is?
So, to make sure that everybody understands, a serger compared to a sewing machine is different. And the one thing to understand too with a serger, especially for our European friends, they might be hearing this, and oftentimes it's called an overlocker. And so if you hear the word serger, and I've said it like 45 times now, but
Hmm.
a serger is also can be referred to as an overlocker. And when I use the word serger, I say it as a very generic term because many sergers also can do cover stitch. So when I do use that term, it's just kind of like a big warm hug that means overlock, and sometimes can also talk about cover stitch as well. But
Hmm.
it's essentially the machine that finishes the edges with a blade and also stitches that wrap around the edge of the material, finishing the edges of the material. Take a look at if you're wearing a t-shirt, take a look at the hem and flip the hem over. If you look at the top of the hem, it might be those two straight stitches that you see. And then if you flip the hem underneath, you'll see like a little squiggly stitch. And that was done with a cover stitch. That was one portion of the serger. And if you look at the inside of your t-shirt seam, that would be that seam that's kind of going down the long seam of your t-shirt, kind of the inside of your sleeve, the squiggly side. That would be the overlock part,
Hmm.
and that would be the other part of the serger. That's the most popular. And then the other thing that a lot of times that most everybody has seen a serger in use is if you ever go to a fancy restaurant and you get a napkin and it's got that thick edge all the way around the outside of it. That is also a very commonly seen stitch for a serger. So but sergers they're used in lots of things, and what I like to show people that sergers can do is not just finish edges. So inside our Serger Dream Club, we talk about actually finishing projects, like making an entire project with a serger. It's not just about finishing edges. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Indeed. As a matter of fact, there are so many things you can do with sergers.
Yes, quilting is huge with sergers right now.
Hmm.
I mean, you can do the piecing, you can take the scraps of batting and put them together. You can actually do the quilting itself, where you use the chain stitch. You can do decorative things. You can we can finish the binding. We can use fusible thread to actually wrap it around, and instead of even doing the stitching, you can use fusible thread. I mean, there's so many applications. And of course, I mean, when a lot of times when people do hear sergers, they think, "Oh, well, I don't make garments, so I don't need a serger."
Hmm.
And the truth of the matter is that I love sewing. I love making things, but I'm a teacher. So I spend 95% of my time writing lesson plans and and creating patterns and creating projects, and I don't get to
Then
but
when?
I don't get to make so many garments for myself,
Sure.
but yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to say though is there's so many other things you can do other than just make clothing.
Sue, so we know what you've been doing professionally. I want to talk about your personal life a little bit. You've been very open about your second husband who was involved in your business and the fact that the marriage quickly became toxic. I know you're willing to talk about this portion of your life. In fact, you want your daughter to understand what a healthy relationship can look like as you are in one now. Would you share this portion of your story with us?
Sure. So, Meg, I'm happy to share this part of my story, but I'm also very mindful not to give it more space or energy than it deserves.
Mhm.
Because at that time in my life, I was a single mom, and I had been a single mom for a very long time. And I was also growing my business at a rapid pace, and I was growing an online presence. And, my YouTube channel was growing, my social media was growing very fast. And I found myself in a situation, especially now looking back at it, that it just wasn't very healthy for me, the relationship. It was during COVID. And I can now see very clearly that
Mhm.
I was on the giving end of a relationship that was not balanced emotionally
Mhm.
or financially. So, yes, I ended up getting rid of husband number 2, but I decided to keep the nickname Sookie.
Mhm.
I It had already taken on a life of its own, and to be honest, I loved the nickname, and there are no other Sookies in the sewing world. So, it ended up representing something much larger than that very tiny chapter of my life. Meg, I had been running my business and I had grew it to where it was long before he entered into Heidi in my life.
Mhm.
And at this point now, I've been running my business for 17 years, and his involvement was such a tiny portion of that, that what came after his exit is what I'm most proud of. And so for several years now, Heidi has had an opportunity to see me in a healthy and happy and grounded relationship. And and honestly, that's what's most important to me,
Mhm.
that she's able to see what a really unhealthy relationship looks like.
Mhm.
And now for the last several years, for longer than what my marriage even lasted, now she's able to have seen me in a really healthy relationship.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I'm glad that she had the opportunity to see me go through that in a
Mhm.
way, because now she knows exactly what happiness really is. Because every time she sees me and my partner laughing and giggling, she's like, that's what I want. And like, I mean, it's just nice. And I'm proud of that.
Mhm.
And it's respect and it's support. And our relationship's just calm and happiness. And what the experience, taught me is that it did not define me, but
Mhm.
what defines me is what I built afterwards
Mhm.
and how I chose to show up. Because I'm going to tell you, Meg, that's what grows a person, is what you do afterwards.
Mhm.
And one of my very favorite quotes, and I'd like to talk about this in a moment, but my favorite author is Robin Sharma. And I discovered him during my divorce and going through all of the difficult times. But my favorite quote is, change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and then gorgeous at the end.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you, going through all of that, it is absolutely true, because my life is gorgeous.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say that life is perfect, because that would be ridiculous to say life is perfect, or that, that anything is perfect. But life is gorgeous and it's calm. And every day when I wake up, I write in my journal, and the very first lines in my journal are, today I am grateful for. And almost every single day, I write what I'm grateful for is my partner and my daughter and my community, but it's like I don't know that I do know. I know with 100% certainty that I would not be grateful for the man that's in my life right now had I not experienced the toxic relationship that I had to go through.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have
It does.
appreciated such a kind person had I not gone through what I went through. So
Think.
today I feel grounded and I feel supported and I have 100% clarity. And I am grateful for Heidi and I am grateful for Jose. And I'm grateful that she gets to see what a healthy relationship looks like. And I hope that she sees also that her mom is a strong woman that was able to build something. And I think she knows that
Hmm.
because she's my best friend and she knows and she tells people that I'm her best friend. So, and hopefully that does touch somebody's life. But but yeah, I think that sums it up.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And I want to take it one step further. In addition to improving your relationship, your mental health, you also experienced a notable and lasting weight loss. Would you tell us about this journey?
So my weight loss, it started from going to the doctor because right around the same time period, and I felt like it was all kind of connected, just from just depression and I was going to a therapist, but at the same time my hands were just really in a lot of pain. Well, come to find out, it ended up being osteoarthritis, and which, you know, not that really isn't connected to any just going through a divorce or being depressed, but it is connected to eating poorly and having inflammation. So I went to a hand doctor and he said, Miss O'Very, I wonder if you might consider just for a week. Maybe just try and not have any sweets just for a week. See what happens. I
Hmm.
bet you'll find that if you just stay off the sweets just for a week that your hands might feel better. And after, I'm telling you, Meg, after about 24 hours, I could feel my hands not hurt as much. So I remember going back to him about a week later. And so we talked about it. And so he said, okay, well, this is why. And he said, the truth is that, you've got osteoarthritis and there's not really a lot we can do about surgeries until you get into your 60s. Cause, at the time I was still in my 40s, but here's what we can do. So long story short, he encouraged me to focus on eating better, and I don't even think he said to lose weight. He just said just try and eat better. But that's when I made the decision myself to lose weight. So I made the commitment to focus on losing weight, which kind of all stems from, I was telling you, my favorite author is Robin Sharma. And I started reading this book called The 5 a.m. Club, which has an entire mindset of, of waking up before the dawn and basically between, it's really up to however you want to adjust it. But my routine is between 5 and 7 a.m. I focus on doing yoga, meditation, walking. And for me, it was really kind of an entire mindset shift. And it took me a while, Meg. I'm not going to say it happened overnight. It took me a year and a half, 18 months, but I did lose 100 pounds. And I also did it with Weight Watchers. So I'm not, plugging Weight Watchers, but I had successfully lost weight over, the years of me trying to go up and down with weight loss. But I liked Weight Watchers because I could, eat it, write it down, I could track it, I could go to my meetings, it was accountability. So for me, I did appreciate having that accountability. And it just was like a whole combination of things. It wasn't just one thing. It was, the 5 a.m. club, waking up. And I also felt like I needed that alone time in the morning. Even though it was just me, I just needed to say, okay, I don't want any other distractions. I just want to wake up and have just that time to myself. And so yeah, it took me a while. I still have osteoarthritis. That's one of the gifts that I've been given as a human. I still have that, but I will tell you that eating better and taking care of myself, and ironically, yoga has strengthened my hands, and I still suffer from it, of course, because it just doesn't go away, but my hands are stronger. But if I try to avoid sweets and if I try to avoid things that give me inflammation, it does get better. But yeah, it's just kind of a combination of all these things. And it's just amazing. So yeah, I did lose 100 pounds. I have been able to maintain the weight loss. And so it's been probably an extra year or so, maybe a little
Mhm.
over a year. But yeah.
Things sound so good. And you put the work in. You're very open about this. It
Yes.
doesn't just come from wishing to make it so. And our best wishes on that, Sue. It's remarkable the transition that you've made. You've also chosen Marie Fiallo as a mentor to you. Would you tell us who she is and why you have chosen her?
So it's Marie Forleo. And so Marie Forleo is a really amazing, she's like a life and business coach. And I have been following her for a long time, probably since 2016 or so. And she's huge. You can Google her and see her on everywhere, YouTube, social media. But I decided a couple of years ago, kind of during this whole transformation of who is Sue, and like, what do I really want to gain out of life? And part of my transformation was I decided to really invest in myself, which is something that I want to empower every single, you know, I'm going to make a very bold statement here, Meg. I want to empower every woman out there because I'm saying specifically women, but men too, whatever. But I'm saying that because, we're wives, we're women, we're mothers, we're caretakers, whatever. I'm speaking for myself though. Sometimes we forget ourselves though. Sometimes we forget. That's why I do wake up early. That's why I do allow myself that time in the morning where everybody else is asleep and I have the house, it's quiet and it's just my time. And so one of the things I decided was to really invest in myself. And I have never done this. And I really invested in my business, which I have over the years, but not to this extent. So a couple of years ago, I made the decision to truly invest into my business. And I invested in one of her high level programs. And the experience taught me so much. And it was a real mind shift. And the biggest thing was to only say yes to those things that I am willing to do joyfully, and also to get really clear and committed to what I actually want. And that sounds like really easy to do, but do you know how many times over the decades of me being in business that I've been like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Or, okay, yes, I'll say yes to something. And then the entire time I'm just like, I can't wait for this to be over. So I just want, anybody who's listening to sit there and think like, oh yeah, I've said yes to things, but I just can't wait for them to be over. And so I don't do that anymore. If I
Mhm.
say yes to something, you all better know that it's because I really want to do it. And when I say yes, I am clear and I am committed. And so that's something that Marie Forleo really helped me do. And so one of the things that part of her coaching program is like, make sure you're really clear on what you want. And you know what I decided, Meg?
Hmm.
I want to be a legendary serger coach. I want people to say, years from now, when I'm dead and gone, I want them to be like, Sookie was my Serger coach. I want them to say, I learned from her. That's what that's what I want. And so Marie Forleo, and I know I've gotten to know her through different coaching, and it's just amazing from the way that she's taught me through her programs is to how to work it backwards and to focus on being an exceptional teacher.
Hmm.
And when people tell me even now, like, oh, your YouTube videos are excellent, and that is not by accident. I can assure you, hours and hours go into this. It is strategy. It is because I want my students to leave, whether it is a 5-minute YouTube video or whether it is a 3-hour, like my Serger Escape course, I want them to leave feeling empowered and energized and feeling like they can master it. I want them feeling they got this, because that's how I felt when I left Marie Forleo's course. And
Hmm.
so that's why I wanted to mention that in here, because that's kind of where it all stemmed from. And so that's how I want my students to feel, the same way that I feel when I'm around her training. And I do believe that's how my students feel.
So, what's important to you for people to know about who you are today?
Absolutely, the most important thing for anybody to know about me today is I want them to see someone who is clear and grounded and truly aligned with what I do and why I do it. I'm not just teaching sergers, like, this is it. This is how you do it. Step one, step two. I want everyone to see that I am here helping people to truly move past their fear. I want them to know that I'm going to help them get past that overwhelm and really feel confident. And I want them to know that it really matters to me. Like, it
Hmm.
truly matters to me when they feel stuck and unsure or intimidated, that I'm there to help them. And it actually brings me joy because again, remember, I am only saying yes to things that I am willing to do
Hmm.
truly, that I am joyfully doing. And, I've done a lot of work to get where I'm at today, personally and professionally. I am more disciplined, I am more intentional, and I am more focused than I have ever been in my entire life. And I also want people to know that I protect my time. I take very good care of myself. I take very good care of my health. I still eat Twizzlers and Milk Duds though, and popcorn, but but I just take care of myself. I take care of my family. I am very protective of my family. I'm very protective of my time. I've built my business now so that it supports my lifestyle and not the other way around. I take my weekends off. I make sure that my priorities are my Serger bees, the ones that are there to support me, so that I'm there to support them. I'm there to support my community. And I also want people to know that I take my role as their Serger coach very seriously. So when somebody chooses to learn from me, I want them to feel that same support. I want them to feel
Hmm.
that I'm there. If they send me a message, I'm going to be there to help them out. And even if it means that I make them a quick little video to help get them through the next step, because I want them to feel like, okay, I can do this. Sookie's there to help me.
Hmm.
That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to teach and guide and help my Serger bees feel confident using the machine that they own, and to enjoy the process, have fun doing this.
Well, what projects are you working on right now?
Oh, can share some stuff with you here.
Yeah.
So right now I am really focused on taking care of right now I've got a round of Serger Escape students. We call them our newbies, get it? Newbies.
Oh.
And we all call them that. And we're watching them grow and encouraging them to love their Sergers. And I'm also growing the Serger Dream Club, which is getting the VIP community going and building their master classes. And let's see what else. Working on new patterns, getting new fresh content. My brain never really turns off, even though I say I take my weekends off, I've always got a notepad next to me, always working on new ideas. And behind the scenes, I'm working on the next ideas, but we're working on round like the next version or the next level of what the next step would be for the the Serger, like the intermediate
Hmm.
Serger course would be. So yeah, I would say that'll be coming out soon. I don't want to put a date on it, but kind of like the intermediate level Serger course. And that said, I always tell people, even if you think you know your Serger, start with Serger Escape, because one of my Dream Club members said it best. You don't know what you don't know until someone shows you.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what I'm here for. So, start with Serger Escape, because that course has dozens of aha moments. But that's some of the stuff that I'm working on.
So, in addition to being a legendary Serger coach, what's your dream?
Keep teaching, keep
Okay.
creating the right courses for my Serger bees. For sure, keep growing my Serger Dream Club, but in the way that it still stays cozy and connected. I still want to be able to reach more sewists through YouTube. That seems to be the biggest place for me to reach the most that need me.
Hmm.
And I would say, yeah, I want to leave a legacy. I want people to be able to say, Sookie was my Serger coach.
Hmm.
That's what I would like to be able to leave that.
So, in addition to our conversation today, is there any question I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
Oh, you put me on the spot, Meg. I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. You've shared so much with us today, both personally and professionally, and I'm grateful to you for that, Sue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here.
As our listeners would like to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Plus, the best place to find me, of course, is everywhere at Sookie Sews. I'm most active on Instagram, where I share daily tips and encouragement. And of course, on YouTube, where I have my full length Serger tutorials and lots of the Year of the Serger video content. And if you're really ready to dive in, I would recommend that you join my newsletter, which is called the Serger Loop. And that comes out weekly. And I share bite sized tips and guidance and encouragement that you can help you build your confidence with your Serger. And from there, you'll find ways that you can get into the different courses and the communities, whether that's the Serger Escape or maybe future Serger Dream Club. And I'd love to meet you and help you get comfortable with your Serger. And of course, SookieSews.com.
Great. Sue, thank you. As always, there's wonderful pictures of your work and you and your life out there. And I encourage our listeners to take the time to look that up. Sue, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Meg. I appreciate your time.
Well, there you have it. Another story about someone just like you, someone for whom sewing and quilting is so much more than a hobby. It's a way of life and a connection to something bigger. If you know someone you think has an outstanding story, a story that should be shared on this podcast, please drop me a note to meg@soandsopodcast.com or complete the form on our website. Be sure to subscribe to, review, and rate this podcast on your favorite platform, and visit our website, sewandsopodcast.com, for more information about today's and all of our guests. That's SEWANDSO podcast.com. And finally, I want to thank Bernina for making this program possible. I'm Meg Goodman, and I look forward to you joining us next time on So and So.